Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Denise. I'm also known as heywigsister on Instagram and Facebook. Today I'm here to bring you a color spotlight and also a partial wig review. This is Crowd Pleaser by Raquel Welch in the color pale gold wheat, and the color code is RL14/22. Pale gold wheat. Now, I have reviewed this style. I did it a long time ago, maybe 3 years ago. So I was pretty new in my wig wearing journey and definitely new to reviews. And so I may have a few new insights to share on this one, but I won't spend a ton of time on the style. Lots of reviews of this one out there. It's been around for a long time. But I do want to tell you about this color. It's a non-rooted blonde. I don't do very many of the non-rooted blonde colors, so I'm excited to have this one. If you want to know more about this and see this color both inside and outside, then stick around. Actually, I'm surprisingly liking this color. It's very pretty. It's a nice neutral to ashy blonde with some ash, kind of medium to dark ash blonde and some champagne blonde, leaning kind of toward the ash. Now the blondes in here can occasionally, not the darker blonde, the 14 is the darker blonde, but the lighter blonde can look a little gray in some lights. That's why I say it's leaning ashy. And when I look at this in certain lights, it definitely makes me think of more of an ashy blonde color. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth, but let's look at this style from all sides. So this style is actually a really fairly lightweight. I would consider this a moderate density wig with barely any, if at all, any Permatease. I really don't feel it. When I reach in, I feel all the way to cap, but back here toward the bottom, I feel a little bit of the crimpy, sort of frizzy feeling fibers, which tells me there's the slightest bit of just crimpy fiber Permatease where the hair meets the cap, but nothing pillowy, nothing poofy. It definitely doesn't have a ton of volume. So if you find yourself getting overwhelmed with wigs easily, especially ones that have a lot of volume up here, it really doesn't have a ton of volume at all. It's really got a nice amount of hair, and it's quite comfortable to wear. One of the things I think a lot of people are sort of either they love or they hate are these kind of flippy curls. This one does have a lot of flippy curls, but this is a heat-friendly wig, so you can modify that really easily. I have Raquel Welch Untold Story, and that one didn't come really with the curls this has, but it did have some flippies on the ends. I really wasn't liking that at all, and so I took my hot air brush and I just ran it on the underside of the fibers like this, and then I curved it over on the bottom with the hot air brush. That completely took care of any flippies on that piece. So if you're tempted to try a style like this, but you're not sure if you're going to like it, or maybe the piece that you get is a lot more flippy than this one, because curly wigs like this have a ton of variation in how the curl pattern looks, how the curls lay. Whether we like it or not, that is the case with wig wearing. So you may purchase a piece that doesn't quite look like the one I have on my head. That is pretty common, but the nice thing about these heat-friendly fibers is you can manage that really easily. I actually have a video where I show you how to care for heat-friendly fibers, so if you're new to heat-friendly fibers, I highly encourage that you watch that video before you purchase a heat-friendly wig so that you can familiarize yourself with the special care that these fibers need. Some people wonder why anybody would buy heat-friendly fibers, because they don't last as long as regular synthetic on average. Lots of variables in that. And I would say from personal experience, there are a couple reasons. Number one, this hair feels amazing. It's soft, it's silky, it feels very realistic. Number two, heat-friendly fibers don't tend to have the shine that regular synthetic fibers have. Sometimes in these blonde colors, especially when there's no rooting, they can look a little shiny because of the synthetic fibers. That isn't the case with this piece because it's heat-friendly. So you really don't have to worry about shine on this one. This piece has this style is a lace front and a mono part, a left side mono part. Here's the lace front for you. They bring all, Raquel Welch always, and all of their wigs brings all the really light highlights up to the front, makes it for a really realistic hairline where you can't see any knotting. It does brighten up this color quite a bit around the face as well, especially if you want to do some updos or styling and pull this back. You're going to see those really bright highlights. I have seen this described, these highlights described as platinum, but the color 22 on the color list is champagne blonde or sort of a light ash blonde, and so I really don't see a ton of platinum except when I look all around the face. So let's talk about this color. I'll take this off and tell you about the color. I'll show you the cap too briefly since I'm gonna have it off my head, but again, this is mainly a color spotlight for you guys. So when I do this, I can really see those light highlights, but they're not a white. So when you think of platinum, you think of a bright kind of white highlight. These aren't like that. I would say they're more golden or champagne colored than they are white. And what you can notice when you look at this is it's very dynamic. They've got the darker blonde, the lighter blonde, and you absolutely have a highlighted effect. It is not streaky though. It is really beautiful. It looks like an expensive salon job, really. And in the lighting in here, so I'm in my studio lighting, trying to mimic indoor lighting that's bright enough for the camera to pick up, and I see a lot of sort of kind of a beigey color. I also see some almost like a straw or a hay color. And so you can really see that in here. When you go outside though, that's where I see more of the ashiness of the highlights, and the blondes are looking more ashy. So I would say inside, it looks a little bit warmer, a little bit more sort of golden yellow, and then outside it takes on sort of a more muted effect and takes on more of an ashy effect. So really in a color like this, it depends on what lighting you're in. But if you're trying to decide if this is the right color for you, if you lean toward platinum blondes, super light blondes, very ashy blondes, I'm thinking like, you know, shaded biscuit in the Raquel Welch line is one. This doesn't give me those vibes at all. It's not super warm though either, so I would say it's going to work for a lot of skin tones because it leans a little bit more neutral, and so that's just my take on this color though. Also keep in mind when it comes to color, there can be variation in how they place those highlights. So you may get a piece that's a lot more heavy on the kind of the champagne blonde, and it will give it a much more blonde effect. You might get a piece that's a little bit heavier on the darker blonde, and it will give it a bit of a darker effect. So that is a huge variation that we can see in these. Oh, I forgot to show you inside the cap. Let me do that real quick, and then we'll get outside so you can see this color outside. So inside the cap, you've got your mono part, so it's your left going to the right, your typical mono part. You have that lace front that I showed you. It does not have an extended nape. Does have Velcro adjusters. Otherwise, it's a very nice, comfortable cap. It fits very true to average. Probably a little bit bigger than average. I actually have it cinched in a lot further than I thought I did. I have it cinched in quite a bit, and I have a 22-inch circumference. So this is going to fit very comfortably up to 25 inches. There's a lot of stretch, 25 inches, 22 and a half inches. There's a lot of stretch on this though, so it's probably gonna be able to fit a little above that, because it feels like the circumference feels like it's running a little big, but the rest of it feels really true to average. All right, you guys, let's get outside and see this color outside. Again, keep in mind, you can alter this curl pattern if you want to tame it a little or get rid of some of the flippies. And there's so many styling options with this great lace front. I mean, you can do little twists. You can pick some of this hair up off from the front. And if you do some little styles where you pull it up, suddenly what you've got here, not only is you have more lift on top, which this doesn't have a lot of lift on top, but now you've sort of picked up those curls and you've got a little bit more of a broad curl pattern, which for some face shapes, that may be what you're looking for. Don't ever forget, styling can be your best friend when it comes to wigs. All right, you guys, let's get outside. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much. I'll talk to you soon. All right, everyone, we are outside with this pale gold wheat. So you can see this nicely. It is a really neutral color, leaning toward ashy. So the color codes, the 14 is a medium ash blonde, medium to dark, and the 22 is like a champagne blonde. But I definitely see hints of ash. I think in some lighting, it could look a little bit like a grayish white. It is incredibly pretty. It is really not shiny. I think they did such a good job of blending these colors. So if you are, maybe your hair is graying a little bit, so you're finding yourself not as comfortable in the super warm blondes or the yellow blondes, and you want something just a little bit ashier because that's sort of where you're leaning toward with your own hair, I think this could be a great choice. I hope that you got a good look and that you saw what you're hoping to see. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.